What happens when you finally remember who you actually are? In today's conversation, Erin Gallagher, CEO, author, and founder of Hype Women, shows us what it looks like to break free from the systems, stories, and self-doubt that keep us small. From trauma to transformation, Erin takes us inside the messy, beautiful process of becoming and reminds us that when one woman rises, we all rise. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Make It a Great One with Dr. Dan. I'm Dan Peters, psychologist and leadership coach. This show is all about bringing hope, connection, awareness, and wisdom through meaningful conversations that inspire us to be better versions of ourselves and have a positive impact on humanity. This is your space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with who you are, what you care about, and who you want to be. We have this moment, this day, and this life. Let's make it a great one. Today's show is all about that. Today, I'm speaking with Erin Gallagher. Erin is the CEO and founder of Hype Women, an inclusive ecosystem hyping women to remember who the fuck they are. She's also the author of Hype Women, just out, breaking free from mean girls, patriarchy, and systems silencing you. Host and co-producer of the Hype Women podcast and creator of the global Hype Women movement. She's also the founder and creator of The Fairway, a dinner series and membership invested in net worthing for women. Voted top woman in PR in 2019, Erin has received recognition from LinkedIn as a top 100 influencer, top 10 DEI voice, and top 200 most powerful woman, with one of her posts ranking among the 100 most influential posts of the decade. A little more about Erin. She began her career at Service Members Legal Defense Network, a nonprofit legal services watchdog dedicated to ending the ban on LGBTQA+ in the military, which they ultimately achieved. A two-time founder, Erin has spent her over 20-year career creating movements and leading global marketing, branding, communications, strategy, and PR for agencies and global brands. She has counseled the White House, Fortune 100 C-suite, and senior leaders at some of the biggest and best brands and companies in the world. Erin, welcome to the show.
Dr. Dan, listen, I got to tighten that bio up. It goes on
I know it's hard to hear, but that was the shorter version. There was a lot that, is not in there from your story. And I was so hyped up after finishing your book, which I did this morning, that I wanted to not leave out any of the hype. And I don't know if you have a term for this. I'm sure your husband is one of these. I mean, I know your husband is one of these. Like, I am a hype woman for you.
Yes. You're a hype. First of all, you're a hype man. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think what's so interesting about the term hype women is that it's a noun and a verb. And so while women can be hype women who are hyping other women, men and any person who identifies in whatever way they identify can take the act of hyping women, because when we do that, it's better for everyone. We all win, right? Women are not a niche market. We are 51% of the population. We are half of the labor force. We are 85% of consumer buying power. So this is about getting behind the majority to ensure we all have a better world. It's everything you said in your lead up. It's why your podcast exists. And we need this message now more than ever.
We do. And I already ordered and sending the books to my 21 and 25-year-old daughters. And I texted them and I just said, hey, you guys have to read this. Of course, I told my wife about it. And man, like, you have been on a journey, like a journey of, first of all, a human journey, a female journey, and a standing in your power journey, with all the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat and all that comes with it along the way in this process of stepping out and taking your power, taking back your power.
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. With a very non-linear path. It's interesting. When I graduated from college, I thought I was going to become a lawyer, go straight to law school, and have things just sort of line up pretty simply that way. And while I did spend my first year out of college working at a nonprofit with lawyers, it has, I have gone on such a winding path that I know was always going to lead me to this moment. I needed to go through what I went through. It doesn't mean I look back and say, "Oh, I'm so fond of those really difficult times," or "I'm really grateful that I was treated that way." But what I do know now and what I can say is that every single one of those experiences led me here.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't have the perspective that I do, the wisdom to impart, the transformation inside of my own body if I hadn't gone on the journey that my life has led me on.
Hmm. Um, I have the same belief generally, and I like to bring in Wayne Dyer, the late great Wayne Dyer, whenever I can. And one of his sayings, particularly towards the end of his life, was, "You know why I know everything that happened for a reason? Because it did."
I mean, it's so beautifully simple, right?
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
there it is. There it
Yeah.
is. Well, but Dr. Dan, what's interesting about that statement is that that isn't always the reality for every person, especially if you are a person who is told over and over again that your lived experience didn't happen.
Hmm.
And so I can now say that with conviction, but there was a very significant period of my life inside of corporate America, especially, but also inside of the first company I founded, where when I brought up what was happening for me, how I was feeling, how a situation landed, I was told over and over again, that's not what happened.
Hmm.
That's not what they meant. You're too sensitive. You misunderstood. You misinterpreted. And so when you are pulled away from your intuition and your internal North Star over and over and over again, you stop trusting yourself
Hmm.
and you aren't sure what is real and what is imagined.
The and completely related to for us to keep launching into this, the first line of your book. Now, listeners, I know you haven't heard me drop many f bombs over the course of this career. I use it sparingly. Um, they're going to be used more because this is part of the content, and I will not censor your amazing content. The first line of your book: "The moment I remembered who the fuck I was, the spell was broken." You had me right there, right? Like you had me right there. And yes, this is a book written by a woman for women, taking on appropriately the systems, the patriarchy, the traumas, which we'll get into. Um, and I just have to say, it is a book for all who want to remember who they are, to have the courage to step out and to trust themselves over all of the messages that we get in our household, intentional and unintentional, that we get in school, intentional, unintentional, the bullying, the peer interactions, the work. I mean, it doesn't end this experience of being human, and how, in a sense, we systematically all start to get taken apart from the moment we step into societal institutions, and especially for women. Um, so you had me there. Whether it's Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello. Like you had me right, you had me right there, and that had to have been like just the beginning of, because I can tell the way you write is just, it's like a download for you. Things just come to you that have to get down on that page, written or in typing. So can you tell us just a little bit about that awakening?
Yeah. So much of my life exists in these flashbulb moments. where I have these very vivid memories of a particular event, and I revisit them often. Sometimes it is of my own volition. I am deciding to think about something, and other times I am pulled into 1982, 1997, wherever, when I am not expecting it, nor am I prepared for it. And and so when I began writing this book, I didn't know what the process was going to look like. I didn't know how it was going to work. I've always been a writer, but I've never attempted to become an author who's written a 288-page book. It's a different kind of writing. And while I had a really tight proposal that I worked with my book doula, Rhea Fry, to pull together to conceptualize what I thought this could be and how I would bring my human capital into this endeavor, as I began to write, it really shifted. Um, it became much more memoir than I expected. I thought it was going to be a bit more of a how to playbook. This is what I see. This is how I alchemize. Here is how you integrate and go forth. But it ended up turning into the exact way that I talk and how I live my life and who I am. All of my friends who have read my book are like, I feel like we're just sitting having a conversation. They're like, I hear you. And
Hmm.
now you can actually, I mean, you can actually hear me with the audiobook, which is another trippy experience. I experienced my book in a different way when I listened to the audiobook of my own damn voice reading my own words. But what I didn't realize was how much those flashbulb moments were going to become the drivers and the tent poles around which the infrastructure of my entire book unfolded. Um, I thought I would have three very clean, distinct, similar number of chapters in each of these sections because I'm a good girl who follows rules and I like things to be in order. And as I started to write, it just didn't go that way. And I was teaching myself the lessons that I was imparting as I was writing them.
Mm,
I was reliving things. I was saying to myself, who do I need permission from
yeah.
to write this the way that I think it should be written? What is happening? And so that, I mean, Dr. Dan, I unloaded 10 physical pounds of stored trauma in the process of writing this book.
Mm.
And that was exhausting. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Few things. One is your book as a memoir, way more powerful and relatable to everyone in the format that it came out as opposed to the formulaic, which I understand. And
Yeah.
that's safer too, right? Way safer. Not that as you've gotten older, that is your MO is to play it safe. It's quite, quite the opposite. So that's one thing. The second thing is when okay, actually, there's three things. The other thing I want to say is seeing the butterfly on your wall, and then seeing the butterfly on your wrist that you wrote about. Um, the book is sectioned by the process of the becoming of the butterfly. So awesome symbolism there. Okay, I just had to say that because I was looking at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But where I was really going is the page where you listed. I mean, it was like a birthing as you were leading up to this point of all of the traumas. I want
Mm,
to say that's probably halfway through the book, maybe two
hmm.
thirds of the way. And I had this feeling of, whoa, I bet when you started writing this book, all of those weren't in your head. And it was like this constant uncovering and uncovering. And then there you put them all down in a list. So many that so many women can relate to. What was that like?
It was hard to write. It's been hard to hear when I've listened to the book because they aren't just words on a page. Each of those holds significant time and space inside of my subconscious, my memories, my physical body, places, right? There are places where many of those things happened that I still come across. And so, what I wanted to do by listing them out was connect with anyone who related to one or more, to make them feel less alone, to make them feel more seen, to validate that those things shouldn't have happened. There was a reclaiming of my own power in naming them and putting them in writing. And I wrestled a bit with how I thought some people might receive that information should they read it. People that are absolutely no longer in my life, people that maybe still are. And what I kept coming back to was I cannot control the way anyone is going to receive this book. All I can control is how I write it, and all I can share is my truth. And my truth is not debatable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing that I've gotten to on this side of 40 that has really unlocked something for me in terms of anything that has held me back before. If something happened to me, I'm allowed to talk about it, and it is my truth. How someone else receives it is not mine. I used to think about all the ways that I would be received, and I would plan and prepare and adjust and kowtow and shapeshift, and it was exhausting because in truth, whatever I did on any end of the spectrum, from not saying anything to telling everything, I still am going to get feedback that ranges from support to shame,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So it actually, it can't dictate how I live, because what makes me endearing to one person might make me intolerable to another.
Totally.
So that's why I said, here's the deal. This is the infrastructure of my nervous system. Take a fucking look at it. You can see why I am dysregulated, why I've had to go on a journey, why I am constantly navigating the decision about how much this stuff is going to continue to take up space in my mind and my body and my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yeah, the most important thing is like the naming is a powerful experience.
And writing it is one thing, saying it out loud, like when you're doing your audiobook, is another thing. And then hearing it back is a whole nother thing. You just alluded to this and you wrote about it as in Trauma, Bessel van der Kolk's book, Pioneer in Trauma, The Body Keeps the Score. Yeah, it doesn't go away. I mean, there's ways of trying to flush it and work with it and heal from it, but for most, it stays with us unknowingly
Mm.
in our neurochemistry, in our
Yeah.
fascia, for so long. And it's this awareness and these taking these steps to remember. I mean, like,
Mm.
because right, one of the human responses to trauma is to repress, um,
Yes.
to survive the situation, and then so it's to remember, and then also once remembering is to find healthy and supportive ways to try to make sense of it and heal from it, knowing that those things are always going to stay with some of these traumas are going to always stay with us. And I just want to share one more visual that someone gave me years ago. And that was when we think of our trauma as roads, like neural pathways, almost roads. And there's this road that is like well used, well used, well used. And the healing is trying to create another road. and you start to walk that road and then drive that road. And the more you walk and drive that road, that becomes the main highway. Your other road is still there. It never goes away, but eventually it'll get a little deteriorated. There'll be some weeds growing through it, and it won't be traveled, but it'll still be there.
Mm-hmm. It will still be there. And there are going to be times when you are pulled towards that road, even though you know it's not good for you, even though you know it's a dark and dangerous road. There is something embedded in the fabric and the fiber of your chemistry, your body's neural pathways and infrastructure that has told you it's easier and has even convinced you of the lie that it feels good. I mean, that's what I realized, especially in some of those very toxic relationships with coworkers and people in my professional world, where you have that high and low that you are constantly being pulled between. And so you start to teach yourself that going back and making them happy feels better than leaving and protecting yourself.
Hmm.
And I experienced that. I know what that's like. Like, I have so much empathy when I see that happen for people. But what happens more than anything, and this kind of goes back to what you started to say in this question, is trauma bonds are incredibly strong. They're incredibly strong. And I have deep empathy for people that experience that in their personal lives and their professional lives. When you're on the outside and you look in, it does not make sense. You say, why would you do that? Why would you go back? Why would you stay with them? Why would you keep working there? Why would you allow her to do that? Why would you go with him to that place? And that is a judgmental line of questioning that does not seek to understand the experience of a person who is being manipulated. And so I have lived that. I've lived that in a multitude of ways. And I have had to save myself over and over again
Mm-hmm.
from the clutches. My therapist, she texted me when she got the book, and she was like, "Well, I'm already crying at your dedication," right? Because the dedication is to myself. I say, "For Erin, you saved me." And she's like, "You did. You have. I have seen you do it." So that is this, right? This thing is like, I was always seeking outward from myself, someone to save me, to help me, seeking a solution, a rescue. It was never going to happen that way. It was always inside of me, and it always had to come from inside. And once you see that, right? Once you remember who the fuck you are, the spell of the naysayers, the spell of the manipulators, the spell of the trauma is broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, the spell, it's interesting. As a man, I'm always wanting and focused on the impact of the patriarchy, which is in your title, and of course, part of your experience and every woman I know and love. Um, and it just hit me as you were talking. It's like I'm focusing on the patriarchy and the systems, and the first part of your subtitle is Mean Girls, and
Right.
which is also part of the product. So I want to say it's part of the larger system and patriarchy.
Oh,
And
yes.
Mean Girls had a very impactful, uh, had a very awful impact in our family.
Mm.
So we lived it um, firsthand. And so this is also a central part. I mean, that's what I like. It's like there's no prisoners. You're not taking any prisoners here. Like, you're calling out everyone and everything who systematically pulls people down instead of hypes them up, right? As if there is like this zero-sum game. Like, we have to rip people down to get more ourselves, as opposed to what you have found from your multiple women's groups functions. Like, the more together, hyping together, the more there is for everyone, right? It's like, it's actually the opposite. And
That's right.
so actually, I think right here it's a good time to go to the origin story. There's a lot of people listening who do know the origin story, but there's a lot of people who don't. And it starts with the hype woman, and it evolves into people taking women down for just being wonderful hype women. So set this up.
Yeah. The origin story really begins, and I'll breeze through it to get to the post because I know that that's what you're
Yes.
thinking about. But the origin story of sort of like this book and the hype women movement, I feel happened when I turned 40. And that was just such a pivotal life moment for me where I had achieved what I had set out to achieve in my career. I was at the level that I was seeking over the 15 years that I had been inside of my agency.
Top
I
in 2019, top women PR.
That's right, right? So I'm okay, here I am. I've got it. I've achieved it. I've checked all the boxes. I'm married. I have 2 kids. We've got a condo that we own. We have a car. We have a dog. So why don't I feel good? Why do I feel restless? Why am I not so damn happy and grateful? And what I realized was part of it is that I wasn't the person that I was 15 years earlier when I had the dream. So at 25, I had these box checking activities as my dream and this particular role, but I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't that young girl. And this is why so many of us stay stuck in our jobs, or we stay stuck in relationships, or we stay stuck in friendships, is because we never give ourselves the opportunity to sit down in front of a mirror and say, what do you want now? What's the dream now? And does this still support it? And if it doesn't, are you willing to take the risk of renegotiating the terms with the people who are upholding what your current life looks like? So that was when things started to fall apart for me, of my own doing. I was just like tearing shit down and saying, this isn't working anymore. And I had always been a woman who supported women and who felt deep connection and sisterhood and camaraderie. And I had always been a woman who experienced mean girls. And especially in corporate America at the hands of straight white cisgendered women who saw my skills and my strengths as
Threatened.
threats.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. As threats. So this is all swirling around, and I start a company, and 2.5 years later, I leave that company because exactly what we're talking about right now is playing out inside of this. And I'm going through this period of liminality, and then I start my next company, and I'm finding myself again. And then on January 11th, 2023, I am sitting on a bar stool at Beatrix in Fulton Market in Chicago's West Loop, waiting to have dinner with my friend Asia Star Day. And I'm early, which doesn't happen often. So I start scrolling through Instagram and I see this photo that stops me in my tracks. And it is a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis screaming, arms outstretched. And Michelle Yeoh is sitting next to her with her head in her hands. And so without context, you think, Jamie just won something. Michelle is upset about something. What is happening here? And what we come to learn is that Michelle Yeoh just won Best Actress for her lead role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And what we learn even more, because Jamie tells us later, is that 5 minutes before that photo was taken, before they went to commercial, Michelle looked nervous, and Jamie said to her, "What's going on? What are you worried about?" And she said, "I've never been nominated for anything before." This is Michelle Yeoh, 40 plus year storied career. Not saying she's never won anything. She's never been nominated. Never a part of the consideration set. And so she was nervous. So when she won, Jamie was full body, unabashed, exuberant, unabashed in her hype, uncontrolled.
Yeah.
She was like, it, right? That's what happened. And so when I saw that photo, I said to myself, we so rarely see women do this, celebrating another woman's success as if it's her own. I was like, holy shit, what if we started to do that? So I started writing this LinkedIn post, just tapping it out on my phone right there. I said, ladies, this is our vibe for 2023. Unabashed hype women. We are going to decondition from what we've been taught, that women are a competition, that she's a threat to you, that a light on her casts a shadow on you. It's a lie. It's meant to distract us and to keep us keeping each other down. We are going to make different choices. So the next time you think, is she really that good? Does she deserve that? What about me? You are going to forgive yourself, and you are going to say, of course I think that. I have been conditioned my entire life to think this about other women. So you're going to first give yourself grace, and then you are going to make a different choice. And that is the hype. So you want to talk about neural pathways. Mm-hmm. This is how you create new neural pathways in your brain. You replace the cortisol that floods you when you see another woman succeeding, because you have been told that she's taking your success, that joy meant for you is being stolen by her. And you are going to take the action of hyping her success, which will in turn flood you with endorphins. And so, you know, what I've said is like, hype is not passive admiration.
Right.
It's not sitting in your house going, that's so good for her. So great. That's amazing. I'm so happy that she started a company. Wow. Those dresses are so cute. And you do nothing else. Hype is transferring your capital. It's your human, social, financial, and political capital. So when I posted that, I put it away. And the next morning I woke up and it was everywhere, because Jamie Lee Curtis's friend had seen my post on LinkedIn. And my post on LinkedIn went viral in its own right. But once Jamie posted it to her then 5.6 million Instagram followers, it took it into a stratosphere, to places where I would never have been able to get that message on my own.
Right.
And that has now, fast forward 2.5 years, right? That got picked up by 15 global publications. When Jamie was on her book tour a year and a half later, she talked about me on the Today Show, Kelly Clarkson Show, on The View. I turned it into a podcast. I turned it into hypewomen.com. I brought Hype Women Market. It became a book. Jamie Lee Curtis wrote the foreword of my book. This is, again, like, it's intuition over everything. When you have a pull towards something. And what this showed me, Dr. Dan, was that there was a cultural zeitgeist. When I've spent 15 years in PR, and I could say I'm 20 years into PR, because when you run your own company, 2 of your own companies, you are your own fucking PR person. But when you don't pitch a story and it shows up in all of those places I just named, that is because culture is telling you something.
It's time.
It's time. And so women are tired of fighting each other. And they actually, the best of women, hype women, want to see other women succeed. And they also want to succeed themselves.
Right. I think something you point out, because you alluded to this, is wanting what other women have, totally normal, give yourself grace. And you talk about the difference between jealousy and envy, which I think is really important. And I've heard this, Elise Lunan talked a similar explanation in seven deadly sins and how she talked about envy, is like jealousy. Let's look at this as, hey, gosh, I want that too. Whereas envy is like, I don't want that person to have it. And I have negative feelings towards this person. And so let's try to embrace our human feeling of jealousy. And as some people say, use that as an expander. Like, wow, she can do that. Awesome. I want that too. And she can have it and you can aspire to have it as well. It's and. Yes, and.
It is amazing what happens when you take what is feeling like an emotion that you should be ashamed of, and you do a little deeper investigation and you say, what's actually underneath this? More often than not, even whether it's jealousy or envy, and I love those two definitions. It's how my therapist defines it for me, and I agree with it. What's underneath both of those is desire.
Hmm.
It's underneath both of them.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that feeling, it's because it's something you want. And so instead of saying, I'm mad at her because she has it and I'm going to take her down, I'm going to talk shit about her and I'm going to be angry about it. Instead, you can say, that's an interesting message I'm receiving from myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want this. So what am I going to do?
Hmm.
What am I going to do about it? What changes am I going to make? How am I going to start working towards it? And then here's a novel idea. Why don't I actually reach out to her and say, I want this too. How did you do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because all of this particular part of our conversation, the trauma piece of part of our conversation, when you are alone in your head and you are in the solitary confinement of your mind, that that poison festers. You have to release it. You have to talk about it. You have to investigate it in other forms, whether you're writing, you're talking, you're exercising, you're getting it out of your body, whatever it looks like. But when you keep it in
Mm-hmm.
and you are ashamed of it, it turns into something really dark. So this is about alchemizing what we are told is something to be ashamed of into something incredibly powerful.
The transformation. As you are alchemizing and metamorphosing throughout your book in front of our eyes, there's power in what you state about the powers and the dualities. And I think this is where so many people struggle. Am I this or am I this? And I can't be both. And so, say a little bit about how embracing, integrating, accepting your dualities was part of your transformation process.
Oh, it's it's the biggest part, and it's also the continued both work but gift is to hold my dualities. I have felt over the course of my life as a woman, as a mother, as an ambitious business person, that I had to pick one. What are you going to be? Are you a good mother or are you a successful businesswoman? And so we're told pick. Okay. And then we have this revolution of women who say we can do it all. Okay, great. So now we're told you can have it all, but you still have to pick a lane and be in that for a significant period of time and completely abandon the other one. So, if you're going to be a badass businesswoman for the next 3 days, you're going to travel, you're not going to talk to your kids, you're not even going to think about them, you're going to pretend they don't exist. You're going to be doing all this stuff. And then on the flip side, you're going to come home and then you're going to be like fully immersed and you're not going to do anything that has to do with work. And so that was the next message that we were given. And that also is not sustainable because it is requiring that we are constantly abandoning parts of ourselves, shape shifting, and becoming something else. I wanted to be able to, over the course of the day, be a devoted mother and a selfish woman, right? And so, what it looks like is we get up in the morning and when the boys are ready to go to school, in order for me to go to yoga, they have to ride their bikes. And so we've agreed to that because I care about them and I also care about me, and I don't want to have to pick. And so they see me taking care of myself, and they know that that's important. They know that that makes me happy and that's good for me. And they also develop this autonomy in being a part of getting themselves to school. And I don't think I would have given myself that chance. I would have said, I can't go because the yoga class is right when school starts. It's just not going to work. But I am renegotiating with everyone. I'm renegotiating with my family. And I get to be both in the same breath,
Mm-hmm.
in the same moment of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not all on me. It's not all this thing that I have to carry and I have to decide, what am I wearing, the frivolous cape or am I wearing the heavy cloak? Like, which one is it? And that, Dr. Dan, has been really difficult for some people
Mm-hmm.
because they like me pigeonholed. They like me in one of these categories. They
Yes.
don't want me to feel like I can be more. They want me
Yes,
to
they
pick,
do.
right? And it stirs up for them discomfort because they have not explored that for themselves. So that has been a significant part of this process
Yes.
is realizing that I am I am not working for many people anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am
Mm-hmm.
not abandoning myself in service to others.
No
And
longer.
so much of the way that people saw me in their life was through my service to them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped doing it,
Right.
they didn't want me around.
No. And this is the quote I wrote down that you just beautifully explained and set up. The only people who get upset when you start setting boundaries are the ones who benefited from you not having them.
Yes, that's Emma Gannon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it is it is something that we need to say every single day
Totally.
because
Totally.
I was brought up in a very enmeshed family. My mother is one of 7. Catholic family. Everyone's business is everyone's responsibility. Everyone's feelings are everyone's to manage. And so I grew up with that and
Mm-hmm.
seeing that and being forced into it. And so what I learned was that a boundary means you don't love someone. A boundary means rejection. And it took me to the other side of 40 to realize no, no, no. A boundary is the greatest act of both self love and compassion for another person because it says, here's what I need in order for you to stay in my life because I want you there. But if we can't come to an agreement on this, then we will have to make a different choice. So I did that with my mom, and we had a very tough period of time because she saw the boundary as a rejection, and I had to teach her that this was the way.
Mm-hmm. Totally the way.
Mhm.
And as I imagine you opening up in your process of becoming the butterfly, one of the ways you show that in the book is the evolution of your photos, of your self portraits, right? Your business portraits,
Yeah.
and then I actually read that before I opened all of your PR materials. You know, I got the book and I got the PR materials, and for some reason, often I go there first, but I'm like, I want to read the book first before I get
Yeah.
all the snapshots. And so I saw the evolution of, you sitting all nicely. And then, no, I'm going to actually kind of sit like how a lot of these men who take up space sit in my world. And then, which was awesome. And then when I saw your PR photos, you're just like, as you say, taking up space. You are
Yeah.
owning it, like owning it. And that is so symbolic. It's symbolic and it's obviously a physical representation of stepping in, stepping up, and owning your power.
The photo that's inside of the back jacket of my book is is the feminine and the masculine, like, so divinely in harmony,
The
right?
duality and
Because
harmony. Yep.
yes, right? I'm in
Hmm.
this very masculine tweed jacket with a, like, lace bustier under it, and I wouldn't have had the guts to wear that years before because I would have thought of all of the ways that I was going to be judged. And but again, what I have taken with me and where I am at 43 is you are going to love me and hate me regardless. And so I have to do what I know is right and best for me.
Hmm.
But that experience of that day where I started out very kind of folded into myself and then I opened up, that changed the way I started to live. And when I put that photo, those two photos side by side on LinkedIn years ago, oh my God, women were like, I just booked my next session. I'm getting my headshots redone. I'm doing this differently. Like, it was permission
Hmm.
to stop allowing our conditioning to control every aspect of our damn life. I mean, Dr. Dan, I just did this video this morning. I was at a coffee shop sitting in this back corner on this love seat, and it was a really uncomfortable love seat. You know, the kind that, like, you can tell people have been sitting on it for years, so it's almost got no padding left, and you're like, wow, I can feel the frame.
Yep.
So I'm sitting on it, and across from me in these two, like, comfy chairs are pillows. And I was like, man, I really would love to take those pillows and, like, sit on them. And I'm like, but those pillows belong there. Like, that they're for those chairs. And what if
Hmm.
someone comes and I literally had this conversation with myself in my head for
Yeah.
like
You're
30
still you're
seconds.
still in there.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck, Erin? Just grab the pillows. So I take the pillows, right? And I sit on them and I'm like, this is so much more comfortable. And for the next hour, I have a better experience. No one comes and says, hey, excuse me, I noticed that you removed the pillows from those chairs. Would you like to explain? Like, none of that happened. But this is, again, women do this. We are so conditioned to follow the rules, to think about everyone else before we think about ourselves, that we don't even enjoy our own fucking life because we are sitting in a contorted way that makes sure that everyone else feels comfortable. So when I started spreading my arms out, sitting on pillows that are meant for other chairs, and taking up space in my own damn life, what happened is people started to respect me more because I told them how I expected to be treated. So that's the, like, in addition to just
Mhm.
having a more fun time and having more pleasure and having more joy, you also are telling the world how to treat you.
That's so profound, and it's often not put that way. When people are saying, I just don't understand. I just don't understand why I keep finding myself in A, B, and C. I just don't understand why they don't see me, blah, 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 blah. You just said it. You just said it. I mean, that's not all of it. There's obviously
Yeah,
other factors at play, but this is the part that you can control, right? This is the
correct.
part, how you show up really matters. And you also wrote, we're taught that being liked by others is more important than liking ourselves. And
Mm,
gosh, that is so true at so
mm,
many levels. And I like the question for us to ask ourselves when we're thinking of doing something or not doing something or acting or not acting a certain way is, how is my future self going to feel about what I just did or how I just showed up? Because
yes.
so like you with the pillows, right? We're like so
Yep.
focused on the right now situation and not thinking about how we feel afterwards. Those times when we're like, why did I? And yeah, it's got to be sick of it. It's like about getting sick of that and saying like,
Yes.
enough, enough. I want to show up as who I am to the best that I can, if every moment. And when I don't, I'm gonna like regroup. I'm gonna show myself some compassion, and I'm gonna not do that the same way next time I'm in that situation.
That's exactly right. It's the question that I have been asking myself for the past few years, and the one that I am really inviting anyone who reads my book to ask themselves is it still working? And that's every aspect of your life, is the way you work still working? Because I know that you started doing it this way uh, for a reason, and it has saved you, and it protected you, and it got you to where you are. So have compassion for that version of yourself. You had to do that. But is it still working? Right? Are your friendships still working? Is your relationship with your partner, in the ways that you communicate and that you take care of each other, is that still working? Are your rituals still working? Your traditions as a family, as a community? When I started to do that, the answer was no, like all over the place. And it was about really simple things, and it was about really hard things.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, was my exercise routine still working? No, it wasn't. I was going hard on the Peloton, and as a woman in perimenopause at 42, it wasn't working for me the way that it used to. So I had to investigate something else. My relationship with alcohol, that had been a part of my life for 25 years, it wasn't working for me anymore. My like monthly dinners with my high school friends, where I left feeling drained and judged. So when we actually give ourselves the permission to not only ask the question, but to answer no,
Mhm.
our whole world opens.
Yeah.
Our whole world opens, because the right people will grow with you. And the people who are meant to be a part of your history, the past, you will grow out of.
Mhm.
And that is okay. That is okay.
It is okay. As I was reading about all of your iterations, and every time it seemed like you had gotten to a new pinnacle in many different ways, it wasn't the pinnacle, right? It was like getting to a pinnacle celebration and then the slowly deterioration of your awareness and your frustrations and you not being authentic, and then a new peak, and then the same thing. And so something that I was thinking about, which has been a part of a lot of my work for a long time, which you may or may not have heard of, is called the theory of positive disintegration. Have you heard of that?
No.
So I just want to say this to you and to everyone listening, because this is such a useful way of thinking about our growth and how the tough stuff is necessary, and the falling apart is necessary for us to get the next level of our human evolution. So Kazimierz Dombrowski, real briefly, he was a Polish psychiatrist and psychologist, and or just psychiatrist. He was around the time of Freud, and his theory of personality was just, it didn't get the same sort of PR as Freud did.
Man, Freud had some damn good PR.
He really did. He really did.
Dude,
Yeah.
really got hyped.
And basically, there's these 5 levels of personality development, and the highest, the 5th level, which is very hard to get to. These are like the Buddhas, the Mother Teresas, right? The Jesus, the Gandhi, the like people that are just at that higher plane. But it starts low, where you don't really know who you are. You're just following society, and you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then over time, you develop these morals and these values, and then different levels, you actually start to do what you think is right as opposed to what you're supposed to do. But which each level, to grow, you have to disintegrate. And it is a positive disintegration, because when you come back together, you are evolving to your next level of development. And I just saw that in you and your story so many times. And I was wondering if that relates to your
Oh,
experience.
Dr. Dan, think about the crawling caterpillar,
Yes.
right? The crawling caterpillar is a rule follower, good little foot soldier, crawling along at an incremental pace. And one day, that caterpillar looks around and says, I'm really sick of this slow shit. And so it decides to build a cocoon around itself, and it dissolves into goo. You want to talk about positive disintegration?
Disintegration.
It literally dissolves into a completely different substance and then reforms and creates a completely new entity and it scratches at the inside of that cocoon and it breaks out and flies the fuck out of there. And when you look at it, you say, hold on, I saw the crawling caterpillar and now I can't find the butterfly. There's no way those two things came from the same place.
Yes.
This is the work. I feel it deeply. I have cocooned and dissolved over and over and over and over again. And most people don't because it is difficult. It shakes up your world. It disrupts and dysregulates anyone around you who is not interested in your growth or their own. So it is why most people stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Inertia is a
Mm-hmm.
thing.
It is. And what I also love about that metaphor is science tells us that the caterpillar does not cognitively know what it's doing or what it's going to become. It goes on instinct. It goes on, let's just say, I'll say human form. It goes with some intuition and some trust.
Mhm.
And you did not know what you were going to become. You just knew you needed to evolve. And that's the scariness and the
Mm.
beauty and the mystery of us following our intuition, listening to the pain, the dissatisfaction, the I can't do this anymore. Listening to our body when often our bodies start breaking down before we're willing to actually make the change on our own, because there is something on the other side. And most of the time we can't imagine what it is or what it could be.
We can't because it doesn't exist yet. And that is terrifyingly beautiful, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's so unbelievably daunting because the other thing that is scary about that is not only like, well, who am I going to be? What am I going to become and what does that look like? That's the first part. That's the inside out part. But then you think about, and what is the world going to think of me once I become that? And that's the death of the ego.
Hmm.
That's what I have come up against, right? Dark night of the soul, death of the ego, death and rebirth. I mean, I am just like, I am on this like hamster wheel of like
Yep.
this disintegration and then integration.
Yeah.
But the death of the ego is so critical to this because your ego is what you want the world to see you as. It's what you want to be known for. It's like the perception piece.
Hmm.
And if you are truly transforming, then so is your ego. So Dr. Dan, writing this book has been yet another metamorphosis and excavation
Hmm.
of myself and my own unresolved shit about the need for external validation and not believing that I am worthy until I'm told I am, until I hit certain milestones and and then really sitting with myself and going, "You're going to do it again?
Hmm.
You wrote the book. It's out there. You cannot push a river. This is going to get into the hands that she should be in, and it's going to do the work that it's supposed to do on time, at pace, at peace. And when you have to accept that and release control, you're left with yourself."
Yes. Oh, that is a beautiful synopsis. As we wind down, a two-part question for you. What do you want for yourself? And what do you want for all those who are listening and will be reading your book?
I'm going to answer the second part first because that one I know. And then I'm going to have to think about come up with an answer for the first one. So what I want for everyone who reads my book is I want you to hear this from me. I want you to hear it directly from me. I am not here to tell you what to do. I am not here to tell you where to go. I am not here to tell you who to be. I am here to invite you to ask yourself a question. Is it still working? And if it is, keep doing it. But if it's not, are you ready to make a different choice? Because if you are going to need support. We cannot go through significant transformations alone. And you need to have the right people around you who see your potential, who understand your journey, who want to be a part of your growth, to be on that road with you, that new road that you are paving, that that respects and reveres the ridden path that you no longer want to walk. So that's what I want. And I hope that through my sharing of my own lived experiences and how I have pulled myself up and out, that I can inspire others to do the same. So, what I want for myself, Dr. Dan, to take my own damn medicine. I can't tell you how many times I come back to this book because I'm like, I wrote it and yet I need to read it again. Growth is not linear and it is also not there's no end. You don't get to a point and you say, I've done it. Thank God I'm done with the growth thing. Now, can I go do that other thing like surfing in Ibiza? No. Your lessons will continue to come back around, but you are different. And so that is going to be the shift. And so I need to, in the process of this book being birthed now into the world, and I am 1 week and 1 day postpartum, I need to truly take my own advice and say, I am worthy simply because I exist. I have planted the seeds. I have done the work. This is now out of my control.
Yes, namaste. Big breath. Oh man. That was so many thoughts and feelings. I just want to say I'm like just so happy for you. I'm just so happy for you being you, becoming you, and what you were clearly meant to put out in the world, and to be a beacon and to be a voice for so many. So thank you. And I wish you all the best on this journey.
Thank you for being a man who hypes women. Thank you for being a empathetic, caring man who is comfortable in both his masculine and feminine so that you can be the best father and the best husband to women who deserve better and more than the world is currently giving them. We are in this together. So thank you for being in it with me.
Thank you. Tell everyone all the good stuff. Book's just out. Tell them everything they need to know.
You can purchase your copy of Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy, and Systems Silencing You anywhere you prefer to purchase your books. Truly anywhere. But I have collated at least 8 of those retailers on hypewomen.com. So feel free to go there. All of my social media handles are located on the website. You can find me on Substack and Instagram. I spend a little less time on LinkedIn now. And I'm just going to keep beating the drum. And I need us all to see our role in our own transformation and to find the ways that healing ourselves will be sustainable and have the most impact.
Yes. This duality of it's our jobs to heal ourselves, to grow, and by hyping people up, you are helping support their growth and creating systemic change. in a time where we all know that is needed.
Now more than ever.
Yes.
We are the ones we've been waiting for.
We are. Erin is simply on fire. She has remembered who she is, and she is calling on everyone to do the same, to lift people up. There's enough to go around. This is not an easy process. One step forward, two steps back, but always get back to you, who you are. You matter. You're here for a purpose, and we all need to raise everyone up together. Here are 5 key takeaways from this meaningful and inspiring conversation. Number 1, naming is power. Speaking our truth, especially the hard ones, reclaims the space that silence once owned. Number 2, healing isn't linear. Growth often looks like dissolving before rebuilding. Positive disintegration that leads to authentic reintegration. Number 3, boundaries are love. The people who resist your limits are often those who benefited when you had none. Number 4, duality is strength. You can be soft and strong, ambitious and nurturing, structured and free, all at once. And number 5, the spell breaks with remembering. Transformation begins the moment you remember who you really are. So much wisdom and power and empowerment in this conversation with Erin. Please send this to everyone you know who will benefit. We all need to hype each other up, and we all need to remember who we really are. Thank you for being a part of our amazing community, for your 5-star reviews, for subscribing and bringing all of the people you love and care about to this space with us. Remember, we have a new free growth path quiz designed to help you on your growth journey. We're all on one. Find out what your growth type is, your strengths, your challenges, your edges, and free resources to help you on your way. Go to www.drdanpeters.com/quiz. We have this moment, this day, and this life. Let's make it a great one. This has been a Peters and Rossi production. Make It a Great One with Dr. Dan is produced by Laura Rossi. Our engineer is Phil Rossi. Theme music is Uplifting Folk by Awesome Music. Artwork by Kelly Dwyer. Follow us on social media at Dr. Dan Peters. For more information, visit drdanpeters.com.